career hats. Oh, no! Battles deep into the night has left the stadium entirely.
You're listening to the Baumbastic Podcast with Andrew Ellis on Inside Arkansas.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday, and welcome back to the Baumbastic Podcast, where we are presented, as always, by Razorback Apparel. Go to razorbacks.com, RHOBACK.com, to get 20% off your first purchase with the promo code HOGSBY20. They got some great stuff, a lot of stuff you can check out. Go check them out, Razorback Apparel. Use that code HOGSBY20 for 20% off your first purchase. So, guys, we're in kind of the dog days of summer a little bit, although football season's, of course, tomorrow is week 0. So college football season's officially here now. We've got a lot of great football content out, by the way. If you've been missing that, we've got our Inside Arkansas football show. Me and Curtis, me and John. Sometimes it's John and Curtis. Like, we've got a good little mix. You're always going to get at least 2 of us on that show. And I'd like to think we've done a pretty good job. Yesterday, Curtis and I did a live stream basically going position by position with the Arkansas football team and dissecting things, where we stand, stock report, all that kind of stuff. Tomorrow on that same show and that podcast feed, we will have our season predictions for football. So it's not really dog days anymore for Arkansas sports, but for baseball, it is a little bit. Now, you guys know, of course, I love baseball. I want to talk baseball every day. We're in a little bit of a weird stage with the Baumbastic Podcast. We've been going about once a week here the last couple of weeks of the summer. And all week long, people are like, man, where's the Baumbastic, man? I want to listen to Baumbastic. Like, what's going on? Where's the baseball show? And I'm like, yeah, man, I would love to do the baseball show. What do you want me to talk about? And on last week's show, I basically, had a call for you guys where I was like, hey, whatever you want to hear me talk about, let me know, comment below, tweet at me, whatever you got to do. And I would say, most of what people asked me to talk about were things that I've been talking about all summer, which, not a big deal. I understand not everybody can listen to every episode. So it kind of has me at a point where I'm like, okay, we've kind of covered things for the most part. And I'm not saying that, we're not going to continue to rehash these things, but in just a couple weeks, we're going to have actual scrimmage action to talk about, recaps of those games, who's standing out. And that's what I really look forward to. Everything in between actual baseball games is just kind of stuff you have to do, at least for me. Like, I don't hate covering recruiting, but I would much rather be covering actual games, actual things, and going and seeing these guys play and giving you my thoughts rather than, doing research and looking, oh, yeah, this guy hit 330 at whatever. Like, some people love recruiting. I tolerate recruiting so I can get to the actual season. And so in just a couple of weeks, it's not the actual season, but we'll have actual baseball to talk about, which is really what we all want to do here. But one thing that I do want to talk about before we get into today's show, I want to talk about the new postseason format that they've kind of announced for the NCAA tournament. I know Kendall Rogers did some great reporting, friend of the program, Kendall Rogers, I might add, did some great reporting and got some good details on that front. It's a little bit confusing, and I think I saw some discussions that were had about that. So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit before we get into today's actual topic, which is summer ball updates. And some college summer league updates. We're going to talk a little bit about that, specifically a notable update on one of Arkansas's left-handed pitchers. But really, I'm talking Pro Hogs, man. And I know some people care more than others when it comes to Pro Hogs and MLB, MILB Hogs. And, some people probably view it as, hey, when they're at Arkansas, I love them. When they leave Arkansas, I don't care anymore. Like, I don't really care to hear what they have going on. And I'm not here to tell you you're wrong about that. I mean, you're well, then you're right. But I know some people really care, to know what's going on, want to have those updates of what people are doing at the professional level. And we covered the draft pretty extensively on the Baumbastic Podcast. A lot of those guys that got drafted have already now, or a few of those guys have made their professional debuts, which is exciting. And so we're going to update you on some of the news and headlines coming from the professional ranks, some other former Hogs in there as well, some notable stuff going on. It really is cool for me just at every level, MLB, AAA, AA, high A, low A, rookie ball, there are Hogs being represented. And so that makes me feel good, makes us feel cool about the program that we love and that we watch and that we cover. But before we get into today's show, I want to talk to you about our boys over at Hickey and Hole Law, where they handle matters such as divorce, custody, criminal, civil litigation, and more. Divorce and custody cases are just too important to try and face alone. Let Hickey and Hole Law provide you with persistent and diligent representation to help guide you through the entire process. They've handled thousands of family law cases and have experienced nearly every scenario that may come up. They know every case they take is important, and they strive to give each one the utmost time and care that it deserves. Hickey and Hole Law have offices across the state of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Little Rock, and Mena. You can call them today at 479 434-2414, or you can check out their website. Visit hickeyandhull.com or scan the QR code in the top right corner of your screen. If you're watching on YouTube, it's Hickey and Hull Law. Things are about to get better. So let's talk about this baseball postseason format. So for those that are not super familiar, the NCAA tournament for baseball is kind of unique in its own way. There's 64 teams, of course, 16 hosts, and there's 4 teams per host. And so you have 16 times 4. That equals 64. And, of course, that's kind of the goal for everyone is, hey, can we be in that top 16? And, of course, you want to be in that top 8 national seed where you get guaranteed home field advantage in regional and supers. But the thing that they've always done when it comes to these 16 hosts, they obviously rank those top 16 teams. They seed them accordingly. You know, the number 1 overall seed is number 1, number 2, 2, you know, and so on and so forth. But after that, they call them regionals. And back in the day, when they first started doing this, it was truly regional. Like Arkansas every year would have, you know, Oral Roberts would always kind of be their 4 seed. You know, TCU, you know, you see some of the Kansas State, you see some of the same teams over and over again. If Arkansas's played Oral Roberts once in the NCAA tournament, they've played them 1,000. Like it was when I was growing up, every single year it was Oral Roberts, and that's just kind of the way they did it. So you had your top 16 teams that, again, were ranked in order of how good they were. But your 2 seed, you could be the number 1 overall seed, and you might get a 2 seed that you have no business playing just because it's a regional. They take geographic stuff into account, and they still do to this day. But they've tried to get a little bit better about, you know, trying to give these teams who they quote unquote deserve. It's not like the NCAA tournament in basketball where they literally seed it 1 through 64, and you know the number 1 seed overall is playing the worst possible 16, and you know, the 4 seeds playing the 13. Like, they don't really seed it that way in the baseball tournament. And I don't know if we're ever going to get to a point where it is seeded that way and it's truly like an actual tournament that is a meritocracy and all that. And I don't even, maybe that's not best. I really don't know. There's a lot of room in between that. And I kind of understand why they do it, because baseball, by the way, Arkansas is one of the few schools in the country, few programs in the country, about 7 or 8 of them, that actually can turn a profit playing baseball. Most schools play baseball and just basically hemorrhage money. Like, they lose money doing it just to fund the program. Same for women's basketball, tennis, volleyball. Like, a lot of these sports don't make money. So I understand why a sport like baseball, that's not a super lucrative deal, why they can't just send teams all over the country and not really care. But what happens in a lot of cases is teams like Arkansas and teams like LSU are the ones that wind up having to travel the most, because they're like, hey, these programs can afford it. They have jets. They'll be fine. They'll do okay there. And so it's kind of a weird thing where, again, we're never going to be probably in that stretch where you're really seeding it 1 through 64. But I think we all kind of agree seeding 1 through 16 just isn't enough. And so that they've recently announced a change to where they're going to start seeding 1 through 32. They will rank the top 32 teams. And so basically what this will do is the top 2 seeds, because again, if you're doing 16 teams host, then 16 teams are 2 seeds, then 16 teams are 3 seeds, 16 teams are 4 seeds. This will give you a little bit better, more realistic draw for your 2 seed. Now, let me be clear, though. The way they're doing it is they're putting it in pods of 4. So teams 1 through 4, they are in a pod. And teams 29 through 32, they are in a pod. So if you are the number 1 overall seed, the worst or the best possible team you could face would be number 29. And they're going to do those, in those pods, they're going to decide it based on geography. So, if it is Dallas Baptist, who is the number 30 team in the country, and Arkansas is number 1 or number 2, that'll likely be who it is. They're going to do it based on that. And so, again, it's not going to be perfect. You're not always going to face the team you're supposed to face, but you're going to get a lot better for it, based on these seedings. And then, of course, it goes on, 5 through 8 and 28 through 25 or whatever. Like, it goes on like that. And so, if you are a top 8 national seed, the worst or the best possible team, the worst possible opponent you could face in terms of a draw would be the number 25 overall seed, which, again, I think is a step in the right direction. I think this is a good thing. And so we'll see how it plays out. We won't really know until we actually get 1 year to see how it's working. But I actually do appreciate that the NCAA is starting to experiment a little bit with these things and trying to get the best possible format. And so wanted to kind of touch on that just a little bit. We're not going to do a whole breakdown. I mean, there's really not much to break down other than what I've said. And so I just kind of wanted to touch on that. Shout out to Barbara Blaine, one of my favorite listeners, our favorite people, our favorite friends of the program. Barbara Blaine, she came and introduced herself to us at Foghorns during the NCAA tournament this past year. Even handed us a $20 bill, gave us an in-person super chat. We appreciate her and her husband. Shout out to them. They are real ones. And she was the one who said, hey, you should probably talk about this on your next Baumbastic podcast. And so I did. Shout out to you, Barbara. Because I was actually, I asked people, hey, everybody let me know what you want to hear me talk about. And everybody was like, talk about who the best pitchers on the team are. Talk about how everyone did in summer ball. And I'm like, well, we've been talking about this kind of stuff. Have you guys not been listening? But anyways, wanted to touch on that for just a second. Now we're going to speed through these Pro Hog updates so you guys can know what's going on. And then I'll let you get out of here and enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend. But before we talk about the Pro Hogs, want to discuss one of our newest sponsors, Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. We are getting closer to the holiday season with Halloween being just around the corner this fall. Many of you love getting into the holiday spirit, but don't really have the time or resources to light up your house and wow the neighborhood. Luckily for you, Walter Christmas Lighting has you covered this fall and winter. All of them, if you are in Northwest Arkansas or the River Valley, have Walter Christmas Lighting install and set up your house with professional Halloween and Christmas lighting like you've never seen before. All the materials are provided, any color, any pattern. They install the lights, free maintenance throughout the holiday season with takedowns happening in January. And I'm sure there are some of you, because I know I see the comments every day, Andrew, why are you promoting Christmas lights right now? Well, this is something you should pay attention to, because if you sign up for Halloween lights, which again is just around the corner, you will also get your Christmas lights for 50% off. You can text our guy Brett for a free estimate at 479-459-1380. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com or like them on Facebook by scanning the QR code on your screen. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. Okay, now we're back. We're back on the Baumbastic Podcast. Back to our Pro Hog updates. There's a lot going on here because, again, pretty much every level of baseball has some guys that are standing out. Before we get into the Pro Hog stuff, I kind of tease the summer ball stuff. And hell, there was someone that asked me to talk about summer ball stuff, and so it appears they would have missed the episodes that we talked about some of that. If you did, and you want a really extensive breakdown, we actually even played some clips of some of these guys at summer ball, some Brenton Clark highlights, some Steele Eves highlights. I think we showed some Kahio Aloy defensive highlights. Go look for those episodes in the Baumbastic Podcast playlist. We've done some summer ball stuff, but just a quick recap for those that were wondering. Brenton Clark, who went out to the California Collegiate League, he redshirted Arkansas this past year, had a really good fall when he first got on campus. Kind of looked like he might push for maybe that third or fourth outfield spot. Came back down to earth a little bit in the spring. He didn't play at all this past year. Again, he redshirted, but he went out to California and got some valuable experience. So in terms of numbers, he hit 359 for the summer, which led his team, which, by the way, that had 4 or 5 SEC guys on it, including Zane Becker, who was at Arkansas, Terrence Keel from Texas A&M. Brenton Clark, out of all these guys, led that team in hitting, hits 359, stole 10 bases in 31 games. I cannot give you updated stats because I know they went and played the World Series, and he even raked in those games. He hit a home run. He went 3 for 4 in the title game. Had even better numbers, but those did not factor in with the over. When you see his stats for the summer, they don't include the World Series, which his team, the Santa Barbara Foresters, did win. So all we have is that he hit 359 with 10 stolen bases in 31 games. After that, he had some really good games that would add into that. But again, they do not add the total cumulative stats. Same would go for Steele Eves, his teammate, about to be a sophomore pitcher for Arkansas, right-hander. He threw 10 innings, struck out 14 guys, did not allow a run, did not issue a walk, allowed just 4 hits. He also threw at least one more scoreless inning in that World Series, but again, does not factor into his overall stats. But really good summer for both of those guys. Kahio Aloy went out and hit in the summer in the Cape Cod League with the Bourne Braves. His teammate there was Cam Kojal, who was really only there for a couple weeks, only played a handful of games. Wasn't a super large sample size for Kahio Aloy, but he played 16 games, hit 333, couple home runs, 3 doubles, 12 walks in 16 games, which may not sound like a super high number, and it's not a crazy high number, But this is a guy that only drew 31 walks in 61 games as a sophomore this past season. So walk rate going up, his strikeout rate went down just a little bit, like 1 or 2%, but his strikeout rate did go down. So growth from Kahio Eloy. And again, he played right field every day, which is really awesome. Got some valuable reps there. Also won the home run derby of the Cape Cod League. So I think it was a very, very productive for Kahio Eloy. We touched on Tate McGuire and Colin Fisher both pitched out in the Cape this summer. And it's weird because Tate McGuire had an ERA under 1 and Colin Fisher had an ERA over 6. I would argue that Tate McGuire did not pitch quite as well as that under 1 ERA would indicate, but still threw the ball really well, of course. And I would argue that Colin Fisher threw better than his 6.11 ERA would indicate, because there were a couple outings where he would leave with a couple runners on and the guy next to him, the guy that would come in after him, would give up a 3-run home run with 2 outs. And it's like, okay, well, those 2 runs, they go to Colin Fisher, but did he really give them up? And seems like he ran out of gas in a couple starts, though. But those guys, again, we'll see what kind of strides they take going into their junior years. I think both of those guys are going to have to step up if Arkansas is going to really reach the heights they need to reach. And we'll see what their roles end up being and see what kind of progression they've made this fall. But I thought both those guys got some valuable experience out there in the Cape. And another guy who got to pitch in the Cape, Hunter Dietz, one of the most mysterious, almost like a mythical legend at this point. Like, we've talked so much about Hunter Dietz. We've talked about Hunter Dietz more than you can possibly talk about a guy who has 3 career innings to his name. But he went out this summer and threw 11 2/3 innings. Now, in those 11 2/3 innings, he had an ERA of 8.49. He struck out 13 and he walked 12. Would not recommend maintaining that walk rate. And so you may hear that and you say, okay, so Hunter Dietz just isn't good. He's not going to help. Like, why do we keep talking about this kid? And I understand that. I will just say, one, the thing we've always known about Hunter Dietz is electric stuff, iffy command. And the issue with Hunter Dietz and why they weren't pitching him early in the year is because they were throwing him in bullpens and he did not have that electric stuff. His arm had not quite gotten back to 100% to where he was throwing 96, 98 the way he was when he first got to campus at Arkansas. So honestly, guys, and I've said this before on the show, the fact that he is now kind of back to being an electric arm that has iffy command, we can work with that. And I say we, Matt Hobbs can work with that. When he first got up to the Cape, he was like 91 and 93, and that's where he had some of his really bad outings, and that's where the ERA really was inflated. There was a point where he had like 4 innings and an ERA of like 15 or 16 or something like that. So the 8.49 ERA, certainly not going to be something we'll tell our grandkids about. But here were the last 3 outings for Hunter Dietz. He goes 2 innings, allows 2 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, and just the 1 strikeout. Then has an outing where he goes 2 1/3, allows 1 hit, 1 run, couple walks, couple strikeouts. And then he has an outing where he goes an inning and a third, allows just 1 hit, 0 runs, couple walks, but 4 strikeouts in an inning and a third. And so, again, are these numbers like crazy blow you away numbers? No, but those are 3 really solid, really productive outings. He had some success in those outings. That's literally, if you guys remember at the beginning of the summer when I was talking about Hunter Dietz, I was like, look, there's no way that Hunter Dietz is going to go out this summer and solve his command. Like, he's just going to figure it out. And he's like, all of a sudden now he's just dotting the corners. No, we didn't expect that to happen. But all we really needed with Hunter Dietz was to get out there, get some experience, get some reps, get used to throwing on the mound. Because, again, 3 innings in 2 collegiate seasons, really not much growth, really not much evolution there for Hunter Dietz to find. I feel like he might have grown more in this summer than he did in his entire first 2 seasons at Arkansas, honestly, because, again, he just gets to go out there and throw 12 innings, have some success, have some failure, learn from it, grow from it. I look forward to seeing what Hunter Dietz does this fall. Will he be like a factor? Will he be the closer for Arkansas? Probably not. Will he be a weekend starter? I would assume not, but I think this is a guy that is still a little bit too early for people to just dismiss this guy. I'm glad he was able to go out there and get some experience. And, again, I read off those last 3 outings. That's something he can build off of. That's something where you can take that and say, listen, I went out there on the mound. I had some success. I kind of am starting to figure out how to get guys out. I'm figuring out how to fill up the zone. Like, I think there's something he can learn from that. And so, while, again, the numbers overall really, really not great, it's not terribly dissimilar than like when a big league starter goes through his rehab stints. And it's like, okay, he threw in high A today and he threw 2 innings, gave up a couple hits, but like, what was his velo like? It's like you're really just assessing the trajectory more so than you are the actual results. And so wanted to touch on Hunter Dietz just a little bit, especially since I teased it there at the beginning of the show. But let's get into some of the Pro Hog action here. So again, I'm just going to kind of run through some of these. We'll go ahead and start with some of these guys, with 3 guys from this past Razorback team in the lineup who have now made their professional debuts. We'll start with the hero, the Golden Spikes winner, Vahiva Aloy, who has made his professional debut in the Baltimore Orioles system with the Delmarva Shorebirds in the low A level. Again, it's kind of about where you normally send these guys to start their pro career. Some guys go to rookie ball for a little bit, then they go out there and play in low A, and then we'll see what they do with them from here. But shout out to Vahiva Aloy, who is 8 for 24 so far with 5 doubles. So has not had his first professional home run yet, but has hit a couple balls off the wall, 5 doubles for 8 hits. So his slugging percentage is really good. 8 for 24. That is a .333 batting average for those counting at home. It's just good to see him out there playing, getting some experience. And, there's not much left. Like, I think there's only a handful, like maybe 2 or 3 games left in the minor league season to this point. So it's not like these guys are going to go out there and really make huge waves or anything. But it's just cool to see these guys make their debut, kind of get their feet wet as professionals, and good to see Vahiva Aloy continuing to be very good at baseball. He started a couple games at third base, spent most of his time at shortstop, of course. We'll see how the Orioles view him big picture, and when he gets to that point where he's maybe knocking on that big league door, what position he's going to wind up playing. But good to see him getting some experience, has not made an error in the field yet. Love it from Vahiva Aloy. Charles Davalon, who got drafted by the Los Angeles Dodgers at the tail end of the first round. He made his professional debut just a couple days ago. Goes 2 for 4 with a walk in his debut, and then goes 1 for 3 with a walk in his second game. So he's 3 for 7 so far. That's a .429 batting average for those counting at home. Drawn a couple walks. Again, nothing crazy to write home about. Has not hit his first home run yet. But Charles Davalon getting some reps. And Charles Davalon is very young still. I mean, I think he just now turned 21, and so good to see him get his professional career started. He's become a very, very intriguing prospect. We'll see how his career winds up, but love Charles Davalon. I have reached out to Charles Davalon to try and get him on the podcast. I reached out to him on Sunday, not realizing he was going to make his debut on Tuesday. And credit to him, he reached out. He's like, yeah, man, I'll let you know. I'll find a day. And then I realized he was making his debut, and I'm like, all right, we can figure out a time later maybe. Maybe we'll do that after the season. But Charles Davalon on the Baumbastic Podcast, potentially coming soon. We'll see how that plays out. Brent Iredale is another one that has made his professional debut. Got off to a little bit of a slow start there. I think he was like 2 for his first 18, and he's in Bradenton playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates in their A-ball. And he started off a little bit slow, starting to get things going a little bit. He hit his first professional home run last night, also had a double. So now through 8 games, he is hitting .240 with a home run and 2 doubles, as Brent Iredale tends to do. Has already drawn 6 walks in 8 games as well. So you add it all together, he's got an on-base percentage over 400. He's got a slugging percentage over 400. Good for an .864 OPS. Brent Iredale, of course, had his ups and downs at Arkansas, but there's a lot that he brings to the table as a baseball player. Good to see him get his first professional home run. Beat Vahiva Aloy to the punch. How about that? Beat Vahiva and Charles Davalon to the punch. I'll try and keep you guys updated. It's really hard to keep up with some of this stuff, but I always love seeing it on Twitter that, so-and-so made his debut or whatever. We'll see how many other Razorbacks from this past year's draft class wind up getting out there for their first professional action. Now, here's a couple former Hogs, not from this past year. I'll try to run through these pretty quickly here. Ben McLaughlin, I got to start with him, dude. I mean, I love Ben McLaughlin. I've always been a huge Ben McLaughlin guy. Like, I always thought he had was kind of underrated at Arkansas, but I got to be honest with you, man. He's turned out to be a better baseball player than I ever really thought he would be. His final year at Arkansas, he put up great numbers. And so even that, I was like, oh, wow, man, he's really overachieved, really proven a lot of people wrong, including myself. Like, wow, good for him. Then he gets drafted by the Diamondbacks. And, it was having a pretty solid season. He was in high A. He started the year in high A, which, by the way, for your first full professional season, hitting in high A for a guy that was like, I think he was like a 8th or 9th round pick. That's about standard. He was hitting pretty well, was hitting .250, had some power, was playing first base every day. Of course, drawing a ton of walks as Ben McLaughlin does. He gets called up to Double A a few weeks ago. And Ben McLaughlin done just turned into a demon, man. It's crazy. He is 15 for 42 at the AA level, which is a 357 batting average. He's got 4 home runs, 3 doubles. In 84 games overall this year, he's got an 832 OPS between the two leagues. But in AA, in the however long it's been, I think it's been like 14 games, he's got a 1.127 OPS. He's hitting better in AA than he was hitting in high A. I'm sure he will come back down to earth a little bit. But, I mean, Ben McLaughlin's playing AA baseball and crushing. Like, that is a big deal. And I think his status as a potential big leaguer has become a lot more legitimate than it maybe was when he first got drafted. Or, you know, like when we saw Ben McLaughlin play at Arkansas, I think we all thought he was a good player. If you had put a gun to my head and been like, is this guy going to play Major League Baseball for an extended period of time? I don't know if I would have said yes. I wouldn't have been confident in it for sure. He seems to be very much on that trajectory. Awesome for him. Really excited. Can't wait to keep following with his journey. Another guy who has had a really big breakout year, and I've talked about him a couple times on the show now, Christian Franklin, who got traded at the deadline from Chicago, from the Chicago Cubs to the Washington Nationals. And in the moment, I was a little bit bummed out because, again, this year has been by far the best professional season for Christian Franklin. He's been in AAA with the Chicago Cubs, has been their leadoff guy pretty much all year, and was having a good year. And so when he got traded, I was like, damn, you know, I wonder if that's going to like maybe derail him or maybe set him back. And you just never know how are the Nationals going to feel about him. The way it's played out now, it does seem like it's going to work out better for Christian Franklin. The Cubs, of course, one of the better teams in the major league. So it's like they're not really in a prospect development mode. They have Kyle Tucker in the outfield. They've got Pete Crow-Armstrong in the outfield. Like, they've got spots, and, you know, Christian Franklin's kind of there in a logjam. So what was his path to big league playing time really going to look like? Probably a little bit better than it will, you know, now that he's in Washington, where they're in a little bit of a transition period. Well, since getting traded, it's been 15 games since he's gotten traded. He's hitting 300 in those 15 games. For the season overall, he is hitting 270 with an 825 OPS in 101 games in AAA this year. And now this is really basically just his second full professional season. He had some injuries that set him back the past couple years after he got drafted. Had a pretty, you know, an okay season at the AA level this year, goes up to AAA, and he's really starting to put things together. That power has come back to his game. He's stealing bases. He's been hitting leadoff. He's drawing a ton of walks. Again, 270 batting average with an 825 OPS. Those numbers may not like blow you away, but again, if we're talking about a guy at AAA, as close to playing big league ball as you can get, and for him to have his best offensive season as a pro so far, I feel like is a really good sign. He's still only 25 years old, so there's plenty of time for him to kind of get up to the big leagues and carve out a role for him to stay. We'll stick in the Cubs organization for just a little bit. Connor Nolan, who we've talked about a good bit, you know, I wouldn't say he's like dominant, you know, like crushing it as a AAA pitcher, although he is in AAA now. But what he has kind of proven to be over the last few years is a little bit of a workhorse. So a couple of years ago, Connor Nolan threw 108 innings at the high A level. Last year, he was at AA and AAA, split some time there, threw 134 innings total. And we're nearing the end of his year now, and he's been in AAA the whole time. Has thrown 108 innings in AAA, has an ERA of 4.08. So again, not a number that's going to like blow you away, but like we're talking about AAA. We're talking about on the doorstep of the big leagues. He is not on the Cubs 40-man roster, so I don't know if he's not gonna automatically get called up in September. And I don't know if the Cubs are necessarily in that mode where they're looking for an extra starter and they're going to give him an opportunity. But it seems like in the next year or so, Connor Nolan is going to continue to be knocking on that big league door. Really awesome for him. And he's another guy that when he left Arkansas, I don't know if I was like super confident that he was going to really play in the big leagues and have a long career, but he's kind of just become a product of stability, man. He's just super stable, thrown over 100 innings each of the last 3 years. Really awesome to see. Hopefully he can continue to take those steps forward. And another guy in the Cubs organization who has now become one of the more intriguing pitching prospects, not just in the Cubs organization, though he is a top 10 prospect in their organization. Jackson Wiggins has become one of the most intriguing pitching prospects in all of the big leagues, which is why he got the nod to play in the All-Star Futures game, which, again, not everyone gets to do that. I think it's like 1 or 2 people per organization get to represent their team. Jackson Wiggins was chosen for that. It tells you how highly the Cubs feel about him. So far this year, Jackson Wiggins has thrown 62 innings, and he started the year in high A, got promoted to double A pretty quickly. In those 62 innings this year, he has a 2.02 ERA, including a 2.25 ERA in 36 innings at the double A level. And by the way, he's been starting games. Has had some starts where he's gone 5-6 innings, and the command is really starting to come around. The walk rate has gone down tremendously. The strikeout rate is going up. The dude has been really good. So overall in the year, he's got 48 strikeouts in those 36 innings at the double A level, has a whip under 1. Opponents at the double A level are hitting 157 against Jackson Wiggins. And for some of you that may have watched Jackson Wiggins pitch at Arkansas, you're like, holy cow, how the hell did this happen? Like he really struggled at Arkansas. How the hell is he now like dominating at the double A level and on this awesome trajectory? But again, I think most of you kind of always saw the vision of what Jackson Wiggins could be and saw, listen, when you get hurt and you don't pitch a single inning as a junior and you still get drafted in the second round, that tells you a little something about how talented the kid is. And of course, we know his brother Carson Wiggins at Arkansas. We see how much talent is in that family. Really happy for Jackson. Seems like things are really starting to come together for him as a pro. He's having an awesome year. Now, the Cubs have kind of shut him down for the year because they want to be careful with him. And of course, he's had some injuries before. They have shut him down, and I think Cubs fans are a little concerned about that. But I think it's a workload management thing. That is even the exact terminology the organization used is workload management is why he has missed his last couple starts. And so we'll see if he pitches the rest of the year. But I'd imagine this time next year, Jackson Wiggins is going to be one of those guys that Cubs fans are like, hey, let's get this guy up and let's get him in the bullpen. Let's see if he can help right away. Upper 90s fastball. The command is getting better. Again, the whip under 1 is just blowing me away, man. Sticking in Chicago just for a little bit, we're going to go to the White Sox organization. Hagen Smith has had what I would describe as a solid, first year as a pro. I think they're, going into this season, a lot of people were asking, well, could Hagen pitch in the big leagues this year? Is he ready to pitch in the big leagues? And the answer I kept giving people is Hagen is capable of getting big league hitters out, but the White Sox are so far away from contention that there is absolutely zero reason for them to rush him up. If the White Sox were maybe on that fringe of maybe being a playoff team, I think they would be very tempted to put Hagen Smith in the bullpen and use him right away and let him start getting some guys out. But I think they want to develop him as a starter. He's still very young in his career. And again, their organization is just not on that trajectory where they are needing, to push the envelope and rush these guys up because they're winning. They've won like 40 something games this year. Like they are nowhere near the playoff contention. And so they're kind of in wait mode. They're going to let Hagen Smith season a little bit. He's another guy that missed some starts this year due to workload management and, maybe some arm fatigue, which I think gave some people some concern. But so far this year, he's thrown 59 innings, has a 3.51 ERA, 84 strikeouts in 59 innings. And this is at the double A level. Again, this is not the big leagues. But Hagen Smith, it doesn't matter what level of baseball you put him in, he's going to be missing bats. He's going to be getting swings and misses. That fastball slider combo is going to be devastating. Opponents hitting just 167 against Hagen so far this year. We'll see. He threw 5 innings the other day, had a really solid outing, 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, only allowed 1 run. The walk rate has been kind of the red flag, I would say, for Hagen this year. His walk rate's like just under 6 walks per 9 innings, which is actually higher than he ever posted at Arkansas. And I know he had his issues with command at times at Arkansas. The walk rate has been a really weird, concerning thing for Hagen, and we've seen that pop up before. But I have no doubt he's going to get that cleaned up. And I think this time next year, he's going to be a guy that, whether he's in the big leagues or not, is going to be a big league level pitcher. Looking forward to seeing his career growth. Another guy that's another pitcher, former Razorback pitcher, that's making some waves in the Chicago White Sox organization is Peyton Paulette. You guys remember him from is he from Benton? From Benton, either Benton or Bryant. I think it's Benton that Peyton Paulette's from. Had a nice Arkansas career, and then, of course, was not available during his junior year because he had Tommy John surgery, missed the entire year. And so he kind of had a late start to his pro career. He is now up in AAA, which has been awesome for him. So far this year, he's done 52 innings. And by the way, Peyton Paulette has been converted to a closing role. That's kind of the way they view him and the way they're trying to develop him. And so he's been a closer at the AA and AAA levels this year. Again, got the call up about halfway through this year. overall in the year, has thrown 52 innings, 69 strikeouts with a whip of 1.09. Has thrown 31 and a third innings at the AAA level, 37 strikeouts, 13 walks, and a 4.60 ERA, which you may look at that ERA and say, that's not great. But if you remember a couple months ago when he first got called up to AAA, really did not go well for him. He had a couple outings that really got away from him. His ERA was in like the 9s at one point. And so the fact that it's now down to that, mid-4 range, through a scoreless inning the other day, struck out 3, has really been good for about 2 months now. And again, this is at the AAA level where, if you're dominant at the AAA level, you're going to be playing big league ball very soon. And Peyton Paulette's still only 23 years old, got a lot of room to grow. Opponents hitting just 211 against him at the AAA level this year. And he was dominant at the AA level before he got called up. So this time next year, I wonder what he's going to look like. And again, the White Sox are in no way close to a position to where they could compete for a playoff spot, but good to see Peyton Paulette really starting to establish himself as a pro. And I think he's going to be pitching in the big leagues sooner than people even realize. And so those are all kind of the notable developments here. Did want to congratulate Jared Wagner on his retirement. He's been in the Yankees organization, was at AA this past year. I don't know if he got released or if he just decided to hang it up or what. But Jared Wagner, we congratulate you on a great career and he's transitioning and getting out of baseball now, but he had an awesome college career at Creighton, at Arkansas. Got to play some high level. I mean, he was in AA. That's a high level professional baseball. So congrats to Jared Wagner on his retirement. Last update I'm going to provide for you is Peyton Stovall, who has not had the greatest year so far in his first year as a pro. Obviously has been banged up a lot, at Arkansas, and was banged up to start his pro career. He's been in high A with the Daytona Tortugas. In the Cincinnati Reds organization. And again, it was really not going well for him, but this week has been his best week as a pro. Hit his first professional home run just a couple days ago. And then last night got a huge walk-off single to give his team a win. And so maybe this is kind of the beginning of him turning that corner. We'll see if he can maybe launch into a better season in his second year as a pro. But those are all the updates I wanted to provide for you guys. And this actually ended up going a little bit longer than I wanted it to go, but I appreciate you guys for sticking in, hanging out with me, and letting me rant, talk about some baseball. So again, we're going to be back, probably one episode next week. The floor is yours. I will talk about whatever you guys want from now until scrimmages starting here in a couple weeks. But I look forward to being here with you guys next week. Appreciate you guys and your love for baseball. That's all we got on today's episode of the Baumbastic Podcast. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Woo damn pig.